Hello and welcome to this interview on Gabon 24. We are in the Radisson Hotel. This is hosting in Libreville the One Forest Summit. Every country, almost all countries of the world have gathered here to discuss about environmental protection and biodiversity. I receive on this platform today Patricia Scotland, with the Secretary General of the Commonwealth. Hello, sir, Mrs.
Very, very good to be with you here at this wonderful summit and to be able to come and congratulate Gabon for the leadership role that they've taken, not least in relation to development and carbon capture. So being a carbon positive country, one of the greatest in the world, is a real accolade for Gabon, and I'm delighted to be here with you.
Okay, what do you think is the real interest for Gabon to host such a summit as this, the One Forest Summit?
Well, Gabon, of course, has 88% of her territory covered by forests. So it's probably one of the most important countries in the world for forests. It's been described as one of the lungs of the world. And I think coming together with President Macron to spotlight the real problems that we have right now on biodiversity, the degradation of our lands. We now know that about 75% of the world's lands have been degraded. And if we do not do something about it, in the next few years, by 2050, more than 90% of our land is likely to be degraded. So it's a very important summit, very important for the world to come together, not only to talk about what we need to do, but to commit and then do what we need to do to save our planet.
Okay, now Gabon is a member of the Commonwealth now. What do you think, your organization, how can you accompany the efforts of Gabon in this fight for the biodiversity?
Well, we are delighted that Gabon joined us in the Commonwealth in June in Kigali last year and became the 55th member of the Commonwealth. There are now 56 of us. That's about 2.6 billion people. That's 60% of whom are under the age of 30. So the Commonwealth has since 1989 been championing the issues in relation to climate change. And throughout that time, we have understood the existential nature of the threat that climate places. The first time we did that was in Langkawi in Malaysia in 1989, as I said. But now we are working together, and the Commonwealth countries have made some very clear commitments. In Kigali last year, we committed to working together on a Living Lands Charter, which would really be able to implement the 3 Rio Conventions, particularly on land. This was a huge step forward, but we also made a commitment to address loss and damage. And as you saw, that commitment made by our 56 countries translated in Sharm el-Sheikh to a world commitment on loss and damage. And Gabon's leadership in relation to forest and management and biodiversity is one that we really celebrate. Gabon can be a beacon for our Commonwealth, helping to show the way as to how all our countries could strive also to become carbon positive. The opportunity that Gabon now has to sell carbon credits in a way that will exponentially improve the economic livelihood, security of our member states, but of Gabon, can be transformative. So I think this conference is a pivotal moment. We've made various commitments at Sharm el-Sheikh. We made commitments in Montreal. We made commitments again in Vancouver. It's not enough for us just to make commitments. We now have to deliver on them. So what this summit is going to do is to try and work out, how do we do that?
Okay, you're talking about carbon credits. Gabon is now involved in this market. Do you think it is a good strategy, and in the future, because we are talking about fuel, we're talking about oil, things coming from the soil. Now we're moving to a greener economy, talking about carbon credits. Do you think that Gabon can really thrive in this environment, in this sector?
I think Gabon will and must thrive in this environment. This is one of the things we hope will transform the way in which we live and work and deliver goods to each other. And the way in which Gabon has created a circular economy in terms of how she's using her forests, I think also is a huge opportunity and an example as to how we can work to deliver that change. And the truth is, if we want to save our world, we have no choice.
Yeah.
We have to look. In the Commonwealth, we've been looking at how the Commonwealth can help our member states to transition from fossil fuels into sustainable energy. We call it the Commonwealth Sustainable Energy Transfer. A number of our countries have made huge investments in fossil fuels, but are thirsting to get to green and blue economy. So how do we do that transfer? No one will be able to do it instantaneously, but learning how we can do it creatively is incredibly important. And so in our Commonwealth, we're trying to teach each other what works and what doesn't.
Yeah, we had the situation with the crisis in Ukraine, and Germany is now coming back to the how can I say that, carbon destroying energy, coal and so on. What do you think about such developed countries coming back to what they used to say is not good, and Africa now trying to move forward and do what we call green economy? Don't you think that there is a kind of opposition between what is happening in Africa and what is happening now in Europe with that?
Well, I think
crisis?
you have to be clear about where we all are. The climate changes that have taken place have been as a result of acts and omissions created mainly in the global north.
Yeah.
But the consequences of those acts and omissions have been felt in the global south.
Yeah.
And that is why, if you remember, in 2009, the world made a commitment to deliver $100 billion
per
a year
Yeah.
by 2020.
That's a good
It still
point.
has not been done
Yeah.
because there was this recognition that those who suffered the most had not contributed as much, or if anything. You look at what we've just secured in loss and damage in Sharm el-Sheikh.
Yeah.
So we know what not to do. We have been saying that the clock is ticking. And there is no more time left to waste. So I think it's showing real leadership that Africa, who has suffered, the Commonwealth countries in the global south who have particularly suffered, and those in the global north who are walking with us in our Commonwealth, are saying no. We have to transition out of fossil fuels, which have been damaging to our climate, into blue and green, which will be sustainable and transformative. And the truth is, we know, if you look at the new economic models, it's more cost efficient, more cost effective to go green. So the investment now is not in the old fossil fuels, it's in the new forms of energy, which are cheaper and more environmental sustainable. And we need to have a regenerative model. You know, it's a very interesting issue. Everyone is worried, rightly, about their economic position. And we all understand that. But if we have no world, there is no economic position for anyone. So I think that Africa is looking to the future and not to the past, to save, to learn the mistakes. And I think it would be a very sad day if Africa, who has suffered so much, we in the global south, who have suffered so much from those acts which we now see were detrimental, if we were to continue them ourselves, and I think those countries who are fighting hardest to go green are the countries who did least to create this situation. The Caribbean, the Pacific. And remember, for small states, only 4% of those small states are land, 96% is ocean. But it's what we have done on our land which has polluted our ocean. So this symbiotic relationship is absolutely critical, and we can't pretend anymore we didn't know.
Okay.
The others can say, when we were developing, when the Industrial Revolution came, I didn't know that this would lead to global warming. I didn't know I was causing all this damage. We don't have that excuse.
Okay.
So we have to be smarter.
Let's talk about King Charles. He's now the king of the UK. He's been in Gabon and is known as the champion of the environmental cause. He's the king of the Commonwealth also. What can you say about his fight, about what he thinks, about what is Gabon doing now and the future for Africa and the green economy?
Well, I think what we need to do is to be clear about the two roles His Majesty has. His Majesty is still the King of the United Kingdom and his realms. Okay. And there are a number of realms. But also he has been chosen by the leaders of the Commonwealth to continue his mother's legacy to be the head of the Commonwealth. And as the head of the Commonwealth, he embodies many of the wonderful characteristics that his mother had when she was Queen and head of the Commonwealth. For instance, the love of our Commonwealth. And I think he has always demonstrated a keen interest in environmental matters, as did his father, as did his mother, as now do his sons. So I think it's a very warming thing to know that the commitment that there is to keeping our whole world safe is there between the members and the head of the Commonwealth.
Coming back to the One Forest Summit, we are almost at the end of this interview. Do you have a last word, maybe expectations, maybe perspectives after this summit?
Well, I hope that this summit will not be a talk shop. It'll be a doing shop. And that when we come out of this summit, all of us would have made concrete proposals. We know that in Montreal and in Vancouver, it was all about implementation, that we need 30% of our land protected, 30% of our oceans, 30% of our biosphere. We need to turn the clock back so we don't get any further degradation. We need to preserve our biodiversity. So I'm asking everybody to dig deeper. We need the money, we need the commitment, we need the drive, but more than anything else, we need collaboration. And we need to understand that this will take all of us working together, governments, businesses, foundations, and us as individuals. If we want to make peace with the environment, and this is the Commonwealth Year of Peace, it's down to us. Our acts, our emissions really matter. And when you look at the power of the people in the room who are coming together for this summit, if we can't do this, then it cannot be done. And I know it can be done, but what I'm hoping is every single individual will choose to be the difference we need to make in our world and to save our planet.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Scotland. Hope to have you back again in Gabon for any kind of event we can have.
It's a great pleasure to be here. Thank you very much.
It was the interview in Gabon 24. We still keep on tracking the One Forest Summit and trying to have concrete solutions for our biodiversity. Goodbye, see you.